Good morning. This is Linda Stacy. I hope everyone is doing really well. Linda Stacy of Living Blueprints. I'm going to be talking about procrastination today, a topic that I've definitely talked about before. It's one that can kind of plague anyone. I don't know anyone that's exempt from this. And maybe you've got really good, tips that help you stay above it. But most of us feel stuck around some things in our lives. And I'll remind folks, if you're watching this on YouTube and it's valuable to you, I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe to the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course, like it on Facebook too, help more people see this content. So, why do we procrastinate? I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes there's just a lack of confidence around what we're doing. Sometimes we have almost an irrational fear. We want to do things right. Especially depending on how you're wired and how you're conditioned, how you were brought up. You don't want to make any mistakes, which is like, hello. I mean, there's no getting around mistakes, right? I mean, they're part of life. It's where we learn the biggest lessons. And there's this big, fear of being seen and making a mistake. So, how do we get around that? Sometimes there's just too many unknowns with a new project. Sometimes we're bored. Sometimes they're just hard to stay on top of, right? And so we procrastinate. So anyway, when we're nervous and when we're fearful, it often puts us in a defensive state. So when we approach our work that way or anything else, it can really be limiting. So, how can we approach things with a different type of attitude? One of them is kind of dropping the idea that you don't want to fail. I mean, there needs to be an adjustment with the way that we approach things, and more of like a curiosity and an experimentation and taking things in small steps and saying, did that work? What did I learn from that? And not like there's this path for everything out there. And I'm often teased by my husband and other people that, I want the blueprint. I mean, hello, my company name is Living Blueprints. I want something to tell me exactly what to do. And, one of the biggest lessons is that you learn as you go, and no two things will ever be the same. And, but having some guidelines and having a path can absolutely be helpful. So how can we harness confidence, when we're approaching these tasks that make us feel uncomfortable or fearful or defensive even, can we harness some confidence from things that we did in the past? I mean, I think that's a fantastic approach to take. And I'd also say that if you're a boss or a parent, or, you're kind of fostering someone and you kind of have that coaching type of position, absolutely inspire the person to think back to the times that they did really well. I mean, how can you inspire people to draw from what they've done well in the past, or that the path is there and that they can succeed in something? Remind people, encourage yourself. So another thing that can happen with procrastination is we get distracted, especially today with all of our devices. We just want to be pulled in another direction, and our brains are actually wired for this too. It's easy to give in to short-term pleasure, right? It's easy to be distracted by Facebook that might give us a hit of dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone. And especially when we're in the middle of something that we don't really want to do. And so we want the short-term pleasure. This totally comes into play when we're trying to do something as it relates to weight loss or fitness. And ultimately, if we don't have long-term idea or plan or guidance around what the big picture idea is, it's very easy to fall into what the short-term satisfaction might be. So having a big picture can help. And this also helps in the workplace. So if you're caught in a lot of tedious tasks and you're not really getting it, you need to understand how it figures into the broader work environment or the goals of the organization. And if you're the boss, you need to be telling your people why that's happening. So that people can really see how what they're doing fits into a larger picture. Because if it doesn't have any meaning, it's really hard to stick to. Overall, there's a little bit of discipline in any of this. And, I feel like a nice balance, if you will, is to have discipline and playfulness in most things that we do in life. I have found that when I'm disciplined around things that buoy me, that bring me up, I have a better experience of things. And those things are going to differ for all of us. So for me, I can easily be buoyed just from the fact that, the kitchen is kind of cleaned up. And if I stay on top of it, it's not that big of a thing. It's not that big of a drain. So again, walking into the house with a clean kitchen, and again, this is just my example, it might be something completely different for you, helps me. It buoys me. It makes me more ready for the next thing. So, again, playful but disciplined approach to things that help bring you up and stay you in a positive mode. So with the actual thing that you're procrastinating about, I encourage people to think in terms of very next actions. I've talked about these things before. I'm going to post chapter 6 of my book, which is How to Stay Focused and Limit Distractions. It talks about a lot of these things around procrastination. Again, very next actions. So what I'm saying here is if you have a work task that feels ambiguous, big, you don't know when it's going to end, you don't know how to approach it, you're just going to start with the very, very next things. And you're going to set a timer. You're going to use the Pomodoro technique, which is setting the timer for 25 minutes and not letting yourself be distracted by any other activity or device or anything like that. And you're just going to maybe brainstorm, what do you already know about this project? What are some resources you need to draw from? Do you need to grab a couple emails? Do you need to talk to a couple of people? You're just going to write down, the things that you know in order to get started. And then you're just going to begin to flesh out the first steps of that, whatever that path is. And, you might find, I often do is within the first few minutes, usually by after 10 minutes or so, I'm kind of in a flow on it. I'm actually not dreading the entire thing quite as much after I've been going. Now, if you try to do this for like hours, you will eventually get tired. We need breaks. We are human beings. We are not machines. And we need to put in breaks. We need restorative time. We need complete downtime. I mean, last night, after work, I did a little stretching outside, my quote unquote yoga for like 6 to 8 minutes or whatever. And then I just laid there outside in the backyard in my, in the final pose of yoga, the Shavasana. And really just tried to not think of anything. I mean, there's so many things going on in our brains, but definitely gave me a reboot. I actually had, got some cool things done in the evening and also had some fun downtime. So this type of thing is really important to keep us buoyed and up too. You can't be a machine and do Pomodoros for 8 hours straight. Unless you're not human or something like that. But these things totally work for exercise and fitness too. If you're trying a new routine or a new food, this is a big thing. You kind of have to brainstorm all the parts of that and think, what are the first things I can put into place? How can I spend 25 minutes towards this today? If you're starting the new fitness routine, what are the things you need to have in place in order to get started when you actually have it on your calendar to do whatever that fitness thing is? And I've even used the Pomodoro type timing effect back in the day when I was attempting to run. I might go to the beach and I'd say, okay, I'm just going to run for 5 minutes and see how it goes. And usually once I got going, I actually felt okay. I'm not one of those people that loves running. I don't actually love a lot of types of exercise. I like things that the sporting things like snowboarding and golf and tennis. Those things are fun and you're actually thinking about not the actual physical. You're thinking about what you're doing and it's awesome. Anyway, that is a side point. So I recommend that you think in terms of very next actions, you set timer, you think about big picture, you think about the fact that this is all in an effort to bring more freedom and more space for joy and just to be the human that, that's constantly growing and up-leveling because that I think is where it is at. Again, this is Linda Stacy of Living Blueprints. I'm going to post chapter 6 of the book. And I also want to mention, if you are part of a company, if you have anything to do with people that are brought in for certain kinds of events, I'm doing remote webinars these days. So, whatever aspects of things that I know, I kind of put together in a custom way and create, a mini custom webinar for your environment. So reach out to me if you want to know what that looks like and or you want some help. Maybe if you're not the person to connect with the right person inside the organization, I might be able to help with that too. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.